Hey guys, this is the second video for the day of lesson 7.9. So make sure that you've watched the first video before you watch this video because this one's going to be a little bit trickier than the first video. Alright, so again, you need your math book, your notes, your slate, your dry erase. Alright, so we are on page 435 in our math book. It's the one that has the picture of the lighthouses. Alright, so up at the top, it gives us a review of what both the commutative and the associative property are. So let's read them. It says the commutative property of addition states that when the order of two addends, which are two numbers you're adding, is changed, the sum is going to be the same. For example, 4 plus 5 equals 5 plus 4. They're both going to equal 9. Doesn't matter the order of those two. Okay? That's the commutative property, changing the order. The associative property of addition states that when the grouping of addends is changed, which is when you're putting them in the parentheses, the groups, okay, two numbers are grouped in parentheses. When that is changed, the sum is going to stay the same. For example, 5 plus 8 plus 4. So in that, you would do 5 plus 8 first, equals 5 plus 8 plus 4. In that one, they just move the parentheses to 8 plus 4. But if you add both of those together, sorry, I'm just thinking, both of them would equal 17. So either way, the sum is going to stay the same. All right? But let's look at the unlock the problem. So we're going to read this together. As always, feel free to pause the video, rewatch as many times as you need to. I'm going to try to go slow. This is the first time I'm doing one of these in the book with my easel. We'll see how it goes. All right, follow along with me. So it says the map shows 4 lighthouses in the Florida Keys and their distances apart in miles. So you guys can see the mixed numbers there on the map. The Dry Tortugas lighthouse, which I did right here, is the farthest west. And then the Alligator Reef lighthouse is the farthest east. What is the distance from the Dry Tortugas lighthouse, so from here all the way to the Alligator Reef lighthouse, traveling between all 4 lighthouses? So we want to figure out what's the distance from here all the way to here, okay? But we're hitting all of these 4 lighthouses. So on your map here, you'll see there's 3 mixed numbers. So from the Tortugas to Key West is 70 and 5/10. From Key West to Sombrero is 43 and 6/10. And from Sombrero to Alligator is 34 and 5/10. So in your book, they wrote it like this. And yes, you can see, okay. They wrote 70 and 5/10 plus 43 and 6/10 plus 34 and 5/10. So they actually wrote it in the same order as it is in the distance traveled. Now, what we want to do is, there's an equal sign. We want to fill in the 3 blanks. So there's a blank plus a blank plus another blank. All right, we want to fill in those 3 blanks because what we're going to have to do is, remember, we're going to have to either use the commutative, where we're changing the order, or the associative, where we're changing the grouping of the parentheses. This is my suggestion. When doing this, look at your fractions and figure out what 2 fractions could I add together that are going to equal 1 whole. That's going to make our life a little easier. So right now, 5/10 and 6/10. That's going to be 11/10. That's going to be greater than. So 6/10 and 5/10. That's also going to be 11/10. So I'm looking, I see a 5/10 and a 5/10. Both of those, if I add those together, would equal 10/10. Or, what is that? Mr. DeFilippis. That is 1 whole. That's what we're looking for, okay? So I'm going to get my 2 mixed numbers that have 5/10 because I know that when I add them, they will equal 10/10. All right? So I'm going to do 70 and 5/10. And you guys are writing this down in your book right now, right on these three blanks. All right, so 70 and 5/10, got that. Plus, what's my next one? What do you think? It's going to be this guy. Oh, I'm sorry. This guy. 34 and 5/10. Because remember, 5/10 plus 5/10 equals 1 whole. And then I can bring in that last one, 43 and 6/10. Okay? Now, in the next spot, okay, it drops down and there's 3 more lines. Now they want to know, all right, what are we going to do first? And that's where we're going to be putting the parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to be putting the parentheses at the first 2. So I'm just rewriting, guys. All I'm doing is rewriting this. I'm just rewriting this right here. All right, so 70 and 5/10 plus 34 and 5/10. And you guys are doing the same thing I'm doing right now. You're rewriting this. Plus 43 and 6/10. All right, so if you don't have your book, something you should be doing is writing it on your slate or in your on a piece of paper or a notebook, so that way you're doing the math with me. Okay, so the reason why I put my parentheses here, there was no parentheses up here at all, but I always want to put parentheses when I'm adding more than 2 numbers or more than 2 mixed numbers. That's letting me know what you added first. All right, so I'm adding these 2 first, and that would be the associative property because I'm moving the parentheses. So 5/10 plus 5/10 is 10/10. And now I have to do 70 plus 34. Now, you might be able to do that in your head. I don't recommend it though, especially for 2-digit numbers that don't end in, both of them don't end in 0. I would rewrite it vertically. So you can do that on a piece of scrap paper. All right, I'm going to do it over here. 70. Can you guys see that? Nope. 70 plus 34. All right, so 0 plus 4 is 4. 7 plus 3 is 10. All right, so 70 and 5/10 plus 34 and 5/10 would be 104 and 10/10. Now, we know that this 10/10 is actually equal to 1 whole. All right, so what I'm going to do underneath of this, I'm going to think of 104 plus 1. 104 wholes plus 1 would be 105. Now, the very last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this mixed number down. I don't want to forget about that. I still have to add that in. So 105 plus 43 and 6/10. Again, I would not try to do this horizontally from side to side in your head. It's too many people are going to make a silly mistake. All right, so you're going to rewrite 105. You can do that anywhere on scrap paper, on your slate, plus 43. 5 plus 3 is 8. 0 plus 4 is 4. Bring down your 1. Your answer is 148 miles. And don't forget about that fraction. And 6/10. So your answer is 148 and 6/10. Now, look at all this work we did. Now, this was the picture, so don't get freaked out by that. But this is a lot of work. All right, so what I really want to stress here, guys, is that neatness matters. So look at how every single time, okay, the first time we looked for the order to change our whole. This was our first step. Then we looked for what we could put our parentheses around. And then the third line is where we started to do our work. And the fourth line is where we got our answer. So this is all about you're shrinking your problem. Look how big it was to start. And at the very end, we are left with our final answer. Just like last Thursday and Friday, This is not an easy lesson. It is tough, okay? The point of the lesson, though, is look at your fractions and think about what two fractions can I add first to get my one whole. Once you have that one whole, then you're going to bring in those other bigger numbers and add them in, okay? The final thing, one of the other common mistakes is people forget about this other mixed number that was left out of parentheses. Always make sure at the end you want to add that in, because that's where you might make that mistake, okay? All right, guys. So if you have a scheduled meet at 9:30, make sure you head over there now with questions and you're ready to go. If you do not have a scheduled meet this morning for math, then what I would like you to do right now is you're going to head over to your flip grid, and the problems are on page 436. You are doing number 2 and number 5, and I can't wait to see your animal print. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day.